I want to go back a little bit early on. You said your gut told you that Nancy was taken from her home and that she is still alive at that time. What does your gut tell you now about the entry to the home? And was there forced entry? Or did she know the person that took her? What do you think now?
Okay, so I'm not going to get into the entry of the home or forced entry or any of that. What I'll tell you is I believe, just as I had initially, that Nancy was removed from that home against her will. She was kidnapped.
Today I'm going to show you 15 separate moments where the lead investigator in the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping handed her captor the exact information they needed to keep her hidden, neutralize the tools searching for her, and control whether she lived or died. All of it on live television, all of it on the record, and all of it while an 84-year-old woman with a pacemaker and a medication she needed every single day to stay alive was somewhere we still do not know. This matters because Nancy Guthrie is not an abstraction. She is a real woman, 84 years old, more than 50 years in the same Tucson community. She buried her husband. She raised 3 children on her own. She went to a family dinner on a Friday night in January, came home, and by 2:30 in the morning, she was gone. The person responsible for finding her, for leading the largest kidnapping investigation in Arizona history, then went on camera across multiple press conferences and disclosed information that former FBI special agents have called catastrophic. This is not about politics. This is not about taking sides. This is about whether the person who took Nancy Guthrie received a public briefing on how to keep her hidden from the podium that was supposed to bring her home. Verified facts only. Every detail you're about to hear comes from official press conferences, FBI statements, court documents, or confirmed reporting from established news organizations. Everyone mentioned in this video is presumed innocent unless convicted in a court of law. We are not here to speculate. We are here to walk through the record. By the end of this video, you will have seen all 15 moments laid out. What was said, when it was said, and exactly what it meant to the person who took Nancy Guthrie. Then you'll decide for yourself. And the 15th piece of evidence, the one that ties everything together, is the one almost no one is talking about. Before we go through these 15 pieces of evidence together, I want to take a moment. If you're watching right now, whether this is your first time here or you've been with us since the very beginning, I'm grateful you're here. This channel exists because of people like you who believe these stories deserve to be told carefully, completely, and with respect for the people at the center of them. Now, I have one small favor. Drop a comment right now with your city and what time you're watching this. I'm not just being curious. I actually use your answers to figure out when to publish these videos so they reach you when you're online. It helps more than you know. And if this investigation matters to you, if you believe Nancy Guthrie's story deserves to be told this way, hit subscribe and turn on that bell. Every subscriber tells this platform that careful, fact-based reporting matters. A like helps this video reach people who haven't found us yet. And if you share this with one person who you think should see it, that's the most powerful thing you can do. All right. Let's get into the evidence. For those of you who are new, here's what you need to know. Nancy Ellen Guthrie is 84 years old. She has lived in Tucson, Arizona for over 50 years. She is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. A fact that made this case national news overnight. But more importantly, a fact the person who took her almost certainly knew before they ever approached her front door. On the evening of January 31st, 2026, Nancy attended a family dinner at her daughter Annie's home. Her son-in-law, Tommaso Chioni, drove her home. The garage door opened at 9:48 p.m. It closed moments later. She was home. At 1:47 in the morning, her Nest doorbell camera went offline. Not a power failure. Someone was at the door. At 2:28 a.m., the app connected to her pacemaker stopped syncing with her iPhone. Her heartbeat, tracked digitally, went dark. 41 minutes where something happened inside that house, and no device recorded it. Her family discovered she was missing when she didn't join her weekly virtual church service the next morning. A DOE network representative told NPR she could not recall the last legitimate ransom kidnapping in the United States. Women in their 80s account for less than 0.2% of all kidnapping victims. This was not random. This was targeted, researched, and planned. And the person who planned it was about to receive 15 gifts from the podium of the man leading the investigation. Less than 24 hours after Nancy disappeared, Sheriff Chris Nanos of the Pima County Sheriff's Department stood in front of cameras and began to talk. Some of what he said was expected. He confirmed evidence of a crime inside the home. He confirmed Nancy had been taken against her will. He confirmed homicide investigators were on the ground. And then he said something that should never have come out of a law enforcement officer's mouth during an active kidnapping. He confirmed that Nancy Guthrie had a pacemaker. He confirmed the pacemaker's companion app had last synced with her iPhone at 2:28 in the morning. And he confirmed it had gone silent. Now think about what that disclosure means to the person who took her. A modern pacemaker transmits data to phones, to cloud servers, to monitoring equipment. The app the sheriff just named publicly syncs in real time with the pacemaker's transmitter. If that pacemaker is on and within range of a Bluetooth or cellular receiver, it emits a signal. The sheriff just told the person holding Nancy Guthrie exactly what technology to defeat. Not by implication, by name, on live television. But the pacemaker was not the most dangerous thing the sheriff revealed that day. That came next. In the same press conference, Sheriff Nanos told every camera in America that Nancy required daily medication, and that if she did not receive it within 24 hours, it could be fatal. His exact words, "This is an 84-year-old lady who suffers from some physical ailments, has some physical challenges, is in need of medication. Medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal." Think about what that single sentence communicated. Before that press conference, the kidnapper may not have known precisely how long they could hold Nancy before a medical crisis forced a resolution. They may not have known whether law enforcement assumed she had days or weeks. The sheriff answered every one of those questions in one sentence. He told them there was a biological countdown. He defined the timeline. He told them that controlling her medication was controlling her life. Multiple former FBI special agents who commented publicly on this case used consistent language. The medical details were operationally significant. In any act of kidnapping where the victim may still be alive, the universal standard is to withhold information that enhances the kidnapper's leverage or helps them evade detection. The pacemaker and the medication were both in that category. They were both on television within 24 hours. By February 3rd, the story was on every network. Sheriff Nanos was back at the microphone. A reporter asked directly, had the family received any ransom demands? The sheriff refused to answer. Twice, he said, "We have all kinds of investigative leads we are working on." The reporter pressed, "You did not say no? Does that mean a ransom has come in?" The sheriff went silent. A non-denial from the head of a law enforcement investigation, broadcast live, communicates one thing with precision. The answer is yes, and we are not prepared to say so publicly. Within hours, TMZ reported receiving a ransom note demanding millions in Bitcoin. KOLD-TV in Tucson confirmed they had received one. KGN9 confirmed they had received one. 3 Arizona media outlets, same narrow window. The FBI later confirmed at least one note appeared legitimate. It contained information about the interior of Nancy's home that had not been publicly released. We will come back to that. When we will come back, sheriff gave a non-answer that telegraphed yes. He handed the kidnapper confirmation that their communication had been received, taken seriously, and was generating family engagement. He told them the strategy was working. The ransom demand escalated to $6 million. 2 deadlines were set. Both passed. No arrest, no rescue, no proof of life. On February 5th, the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI held a joint briefing. They released the full investigative timeline, not a general summary. Every confirmed timestamp, every data point. Garage door, 9:48 p.m. Doorbell camera disconnect, 1:47 a.m. Pacemaker app silent, 2:28 a.m. Family discovery, 11:56 a.m. A timeline released during an act of kidnapping is not just information. It is a map of the investigation's edges. It tells you what law enforcement knows, and more importantly, what they do not. The doorbell went dark at 1:47. The pacemaker stopped at 2:28. 41 minutes where the suspect operated without leaving a confirmed digital trace. By the sheriff's own publicly released record, a documented gap in the evidence. The sheriff just told the person who took Nancy Guthrie, "We have nothing from 1:47 to 2:28. He filed that gap in writing, confirmed it on camera, and put it on the record for every news network to republish. A 41-minute gift to a kidnapper who was almost certainly watching. At the same briefing, Sheriff Nanos disclosed that the Nest doorbell camera footage had been automatically overwritten because Nancy did not have an active cloud subscription. The data was gone. He also mentioned that at 2:12 a.m., software detected a person on camera, but no video was available. To the person who took Nancy, this was confirmation. Their physical tampering of the camera had worked. The footage was gone. The system they defeated stayed defeated. Or so they were told. We are 5 evidence points in. There are 10 more, and they get worse. 5 days after telling the public the footage was gone, the FBI announced that tech partners had extracted images from residual data in back-end server systems. Data that should not have existed. Recovering footage is a victory. But disclosing both facts publicly, that the footage was gone and then that it was recovered from cloud infrastructure, told anyone connected to this crime something specific. Physical tampering of a consumer camera is not enough if the device was ever connected to cloud infrastructure. Data can be recovered from back-end systems even after reset. That is operationally valuable. Not just for this case, for anyone planning a similar crime. And it was on the evening news. On February 10th, FBI Director Kash Patel posted 4 black and white photographs from Nancy's doorbell camera. A masked figure, gloves, an Ozark Trail backpack from Walmart, a firearm holstered improperly, the suspect cupping the camera, then covering the lens with a potted plant. The image release was a legitimate investigative decision. But paired with the camera recovery disclosure, it confirmed to the suspect exactly what investigators could and could not see. A black latex glove was found 2 miles from the home. DNA was recovered. It was run through CODIS, the FBI's combined DNA index system. 19 million criminal offender profiles. The most comprehensive forensic database in American law enforcement, no match. The sheriff confirmed this publicly. When you do not know whether your DNA is in CODIS, you live in uncertainty. You do not know if investigators have identified you biologically. That uncertainty is one of the most powerful psychological tools in law enforcement's toolkit, because uncertainty produces anxiety, and anxiety produces mistakes. The sheriff removed that tool. He told the person who took Nancy Guthrie, "Your DNA is not in the system. You are biometrically invisible to us." A former federal forensic analyst explained it plainly. The moment you confirm a non-match in CODIS in an open kidnapping, you forfeit one of the only psychological tools that might drive an unknown suspect to make a mistake. They were likely watching. After that announcement, they knew they were safe. The sheriff went further. He publicly explained that the crime scene DNA was potentially a mixture, male and female, possibly multiple contributors, and that labs were working to separate the profiles. The samples were not clean. Separation would take time. To the kidnapper, this was a real-time status update on the investigation's weakest forensic thread. They now knew the physical evidence was complicated, incomplete, and not yet usable. That is the kind of information a suspect uses to calculate how much time they have. FBI Special Agent in Charge Heath Jenke confirmed at a nationally broadcast press conference that at least one ransom note was legitimate. It contained specific details about items inside Nancy's home, a damaged Apple Watch and a floodlight that had not been publicly released. The kidnapper now had FBI confirmation of which note the Bureau had authenticated. They knew the FBI's credibility threshold. They knew the Bureau had crossed from skepticism to active engagement, and for anyone considering a copycat ransom note, the FBI had just published the exact kind of insider detail needed to be taken seriously. 10 pieces of evidence disclosed from a podium. But the final 5 are different. These are not about information the kidnapper could use. These are about the systems and tools that might have actually brought Nancy Guthrie home. And they were destroyed. Reports emerged that the FBI had deployed a helicopter with a Bluetooth sniffer capable of detecting Nancy's pacemaker signal from the air. If Nancy was alive and within range, the helicopter could triangulate her location. This was the most promising technological tool deployed in this investigation, the kind of technology that, with operational secrecy intact, had a real chance of finding a living victim. And then it was on television. President Trump publicly criticized law enforcement for revealing this. On this point, he was not wrong. The person holding Nancy now knew federal agents were flying over Arizona with a device that detected her pacemaker's signal from altitude. They knew the detection method. They knew how to defeat it. Move her underground behind concrete out of signal range. The tool that had the best chance of finding Nancy Guthrie alive was neutralized by the act of naming it. I am not attributing this disclosure to the sheriff personally. It surfaced through media reporting. But the investigation had established a pattern of treating every operational detail as public information. In that environment, a technology that might have saved her life was not protected. It was news. On February 13th, Reuters reported that federal sources accused Sheriff Nanos of refusing to hand over the black latex glove and DNA samples to the FBI. The same evidence he had publicly announced yielded no CODIS match. But according to those sources, the physical evidence itself had not been transferred to the agency with the most sophisticated forensic capability. FBI evidence response teams were in a support role only. The Pima County Sheriff's Department maintained lead status. Key evidence was outside FBI custody at the moment. Maximizing forensic options was most critical. The Sheriff's Department denied obstruction. But the question remains, if the FBI had direct custody from the beginning, could different testing have been applied? Could the timeline have been faster? Could the result have been different? Two institutions, both supposedly on the same side, in documented conflict over physical evidence while a woman was missing. On February 18th, the FBI quietly contacted Mexican federal law enforcement about the case. That same day, Sheriff Nanos told the press there was no indication Nancy had been taken across the border. The FBI contacted Mexico anyway. Two branches of an investigation running on fundamentally different assumptions, and broadcasting those differences publicly. Every gap between agencies is a gap someone with something to hide can walk through. Disagreement behind closed doors is normal. Disagreement on camera is a gift. Early in the investigation, the sheriff publicly stated the family had been cleared. This included Tommaso Cioni, who drove Nancy home that evening. Then, without clear public explanation, that position shifted. Reporting referenced renewed scrutiny of Cioni. The early clearance was no longer definitive. I want to be very clear. There are no public charges against any family member. Everyone is presumed innocent. What we are examining is the decision to publicly clear and then publicly unclear, and what that communicated. If the perpetrator is outside the family, the reversal told them Investigators were uncertain and potentially distracted by an internal lead. If the perpetrator is inside the family, the early clearance was itself a gift. Either way, the sequence signaled investigative confusion at a moment when clarity was everything. The FBI offered $100,000. 88 Crime offered $102,500. The Guthrie family announced $1 million, payable only for Nancy's physical recovery. Over $1.2 million in combined reward money. It has been over a month. None of it has been claimed. No arrest. No suspect publicly named. No proof of life at any point. The FBI command post has moved from Tucson to Phoenix. The home has been returned to the family. No trespassing signs on a property that was a crime scene a month ago. Sheriff Nanos told NBC News on March 3rd that investigators are definitely closer. Closer to what? He did not say. This 15th piece of evidence is not about a single disclosure. It is about the sum total. 15 press conferences. 15 moments where information flowed from the podium to the kidnapper. Each one reducing the probability of rescue. Each one making that $1.2 million harder to earn. The reward is unclaimed because the investigation was compromised from the podium before the searchers ever had a chance to get close. $1.2 million in reward money. 15 press conference gifts to a kidnapper. And an 84-year-old woman who still has not come home. Let me walk you through what we covered. 15 pieces of evidence. Each one from the public record. A pacemaker disclosed. And the kidnapper knew what technology to defeat. A medication countdown on live television. And the kidnapper knew they held a biological weapon. A ransom non-denial that confirmed their strategy was working. A full timeline that mapped the investigation's blind spots. A camera overwrite that confirmed their tampering had succeeded. A camera recovery reversal that taught them how cloud infrastructure works. Doorbell images that showed them what investigators could see. A DNA non-match that made them biometrically invisible. A mixed DNA disclosure that told them the forensic thread was tangled. A ransom note authentication that published the FBI's credibility threshold. A helicopter scanner, the last best hope, named on television before it could do its job. An evidence custody dispute between lead agencies, a Mexico contradiction that broadcast misalignment. A family clearance reversal that signaled confusion. And an unclaimed reward sitting at $1.2 million, while Nancy Guthrie is still missing. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She lived in the same Tucson community for more than 50 years. She buried her husband. She raised her children alone. She went to a family dinner on a Friday night in January and never came home. She deserved an investigation that protected her. She deserved silence where silence would have saved her. Instead, she got 15 press conferences that told her kidnapper everything they needed to know. I am not here to tell you what to think. I am here to show you what happened and to ask the question the record demands. Was this negligence? Was this incompetence? Or was this something that does not have a comfortable name? You have seen the 15 pieces of evidence. The answer is yours. In our next video, we examine the 41 minutes no one can account for and the gap between 1:47 and 2:28 a.m. and one piece of evidence that suggests what may have happened inside that house. Subscribe so you do not miss it. If you have any information about the Nancy Guthrie case, anything at all, call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Tips are completely anonymous. The Guthrie family reward of $1 million is payable in cash for information leading to Nancy's physical recovery. Thank you for watching all the way through. It means more than you know. Drop your city and time in the comments. It genuinely helps me get these videos to you when you're online. Subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to see it, and I will see you in the next one.